unfinished business. We have a number of items there, and I'm going to confirm with the desk that we are going to pick these up at file item 68. But before we do that, we will go to Senator Kehoe, who I believe has an item which was passed previously. Senator?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, file item 42.
File item 42. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 585 by Senator Kehoe, enacting to solar energy and declaring the urge thereof to take effect immediately.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. We'll get the afternoon started with this important bill. It is an urgency measure that returns from the Assembly with amendments that clarify that the total amount of funds that may be collected to complete the California Solar Initiative non-residential solar program will be capped at $200 million. First use will be the approximately $40 million that is interest accrued in the account. Amendments from the Assembly also require the PUC within 90 days of the bill's enactment to establish and impose project cost caps for residential and non-residential projects under the program. The bill is sponsored by the California Solar Alliance and the California Solar Energy Industry Association, the Silicon Valley Leadership Group, and others. Members, I'd like you to know this is the non-residential portion. The vast majority of these funds go to school districts, local government buildings, and businesses. At this point in the program, over 95% of the project will be paid for by the customers. The remaining 4% that the state puts in is highly leveraged, and I would ask for your aye vote on this important bill.
Debate or discussion? Debate or discussion. Senator Wright.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I've voted for against this bill every time that it's come up, and I arise again to say that I'd ask people to vote against it again. What we're talking about, members, is putting an additional $200 million burden on the ratepayer. Some people would say, well, that's not a lot of money, but that's on top of the $3.3 billion burden that we've already placed there. Now, in this legislative year, we're talking about extending a public goods charge on top of the services that we've already done for poor people. We've already mandated that we buy energy from certain sources. It's going to drive up the cost. And then we took ratepayer dollars and we illegally used them as tax dollars, for which we're probably going to get sued and have to pay back. You know, we really need to just stop. In today's newspaper, you may have seen that one of the largest solar manufacturers in the country, certainly the largest in California, just went bankrupt. But Solyndra didn't just go bankrupt, members. They took $550 million of federal money with them and 1,100 jobs. They already had taken some of our money from the $3.3 billion that was already there. Thank God that we didn't pass this bill a couple of months ago, because we would have given them a few more $100 million to take down that rat hole. We need to be careful, members, that we're not just passing stuff because it feels good, because I can tell you, sometimes if you get $500 million here, $10 million there, what you've got is a pretty good scam. So again, I'm glad we didn't pass this bill 6 months ago, because that would have been more money that they would have gotten. Members, here's a news flash again. The utility sector employs people, but its mission is not to create jobs. And if you raise rates to create jobs, you actually have the reverse effect. The rates must reflect the true cost of producing the product that you're trying to deliver. And within that framework, if you create jobs, then that's a good thing, and God bless the process. Raising rates to create jobs is just flat dumb. In the case of some of the solar issues that we're talking about, you may not be aware, but you really pay for it 6 times. A tax credit for the installation, you pay for it once. A ratepayer subsidy to the producer out of the PGC funds, you paid for it twice. Over market charges to the producer of the product, you paid for it 3 times. A net meter subsidy after it's installed, you paid for it 4 times. A mandatory purchase requirement imposed in statute, you paid for it 5 times. And then the federal loan that we give them after it's done, you're now paying for it 6 times. And in the case of the two largest solar manufacturers in the United States, it still ain't competitive, and they both went bankrupt. Members, in the July 10th issue of Business Week, actually of 2010, Andy Grove talked about how you create jobs in both the United States and in California. The issue becomes scaling up. In California, we've become exceptionally good at R&D. We can design drugs, we can design computers, we can design phones. We can't make a damn thing. Our problem is that the jobs are actually in the scaling up and not in the R&D. So we've had discussion where people say, California is the leader in venture capital. I've got news. Give me the jobs and let somebody else have the venture capital. I don't want to be the leader in venture capital. I want to be the leader in jobs. What we're doing in this is we're driving up the rate and we're driving away jobs. So when Andy Grove in the Silicon Valley sought to go, I think I'll put some solar panels on my house. Where was he going to get the panels from? All the local firms had to get them from China, because there was no firm in the Silicon Valley that manufactured the panels and could deliver them to him. If we're going to compete in the world in manufacturing, we're going to have to begin to manufacture those things that we design. I've heard discussions again about our venture capital, and as I said before, I want the jobs and not the venture capital. If we're serious about truly encouraging manufacturing in California, we're going to have to lower our rates. I'll remind some of you that the NUMMI plant that closed, which is right down the street from the Solyndra plant that just closed, when they took 5,000 jobs with them, one of the things that they noted was that his electric bill was double what it would be if he did the exact same manufacturing in Texas. It cost $300+ per car to make the exact same vehicle in California versus Texas. So that means 5,000 jobs said adios to California in that context. We're going to have to become competitive, or we should just tell manufacturers, we don't care if you leave. Solar power can produce some efficiencies. In many applications, it's actually the better choice over some of the projects that we use. But in those projects, members, we don't provide subsidies because we don't have to, because it becomes market ready. 585 is simply pouring an additional $200 million into a rat hole that Solyndra just went down. The ratepayer's pocketbook is not a special interest piggy bank. I would ask for a no vote on SB 585.
Thank you, Senator Wright. Do you have a second point you'd like to make this afternoon? Further debate or discussion? Further debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Senator Kehoe, you may close.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now that Senator Wright's got your attention, members, let's look at the facts of this bill. It left the Senate floor several weeks ago with bipartisan support. It is here back today on concurrence. This is about 5% increase in our California Solar Initiative allowance. These dollars will be matched over 95% by school districts and local government buildings in my district and in your district. There are, in fact, 300 projects in the pipeline waiting for this money. Those installations will be jobs in our district. They will be cost savings to school districts and local governments on their energy bill. And it is exactly what we should be doing now. Again, I ask for your aye vote on the concurrence and assembly amendments. We want to move this forward. The urgency bill is so there will be no gap in the program for the public agencies that are awaiting this money. I ask for your aye vote.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Alquist, Anderson, Berryhill, Blakesley, Calderon, Cannella, Corbett, I. Correa, De Leon, DeSaulnier, Dutton, Emerson, Evans, I. Fuller, Gaines, no. Hancock, Harmon, Hernandez, I. Huff, no. Kehoe, I. LaMalfa, Leno, I. Ted Lieu, I. Carol Lieu, I. Lowenthal, I. Negrete McLeod, Padilla, I. Pavley. I. Price. I. Rubio. I. Runner. Semidian.
Aye.
I. Steinberg. I. Strickland. Vargas. I. Walters. Wolk. I. Wright. No. Wyland. No. Yee. Yee, aye.
Please call the absent members.
Alquist. Anderson. Berryhill. Blakesley. Calderon. Canella. Correa. No. De Leon. Aye. DeSaulnier. Dutton. Emerson. Fuller. Hancock. Harmon. Negrete McLeod. LaMalfa. Runner. Strickland. Walters.
Call the absent members.
Alquist. Anderson. Berryhill. Blakesley. Calderon. Canella. DeSaulnier. Dutton. Emerson. Fuller. Hancock. Harmon. Hancock, aye. LaMalfa. Negrete McLeod. Runner. Strickland. Walters.
Ayes 19, noes 5. Senator Kehoe moves a call. Members, we are returning to our place on file. That is file item 68. That is Senator Carol Liu. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 309 by Senator Liu, enacting to care facilities.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, SB 309 was amended in the Assembly to address technical implementation concerns requested by the Department of Social Services. The bill has had no votes and has no fiscal impact, and I ask for your concurrence on Assembly amendments.
Members, is there any debate or discussion? Debate or discussion? Can we substitute? If not, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Alquist. Anderson. Berryhill. I. Blakesley. Calderon. Canella. Corbett. I. Correa. De Leon. I. DeSaulnier. Dutton. Emerson. I. Evans. I. Fuller. Gaines. I. Hancock. I. Harmon. I. Hernandez. I. Huff. I. Kehoe. I. LaMalfa. Leno. I. Ted Lieu. Carol Liu. I. Lowenthal. I. Negrete McLeod. I. Padilla. I. Pavley. I. Price. I. Rubio. I. Runner. I. Semidian. I. Steinberg. I. Strickland. I. Vargas. I. Walters. Wolk. I. Wright. I. Wyland. Yee. Yee, aye.
Call the absent members.
Alquist. Anderson. Blakesley. I. Calderon. Canella. I. Correa. I. DeSaulnier. Dutton. I. Fuller. I. LaMalfa. Ted Lieu. I. Walters. Wyland. Wyland, aye.
Call the absent members.
Alquist. Anderson. Calderon. DeSaulnier. LaMalfa. Walters.
Call the absent members.
Alquist. Anderson. Calderon. DeSaulnier. LaMalfa. Walters.
Ayes 34, noes 0. The Assembly amendments are concurred in. File item 69, Senator Negrete McLeod. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 349 by Senator Negrete McLeod, enacting to teachers' retirement.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. SB 349 is the annual CalSTRS housekeeping bill which makes technical, clarifying, and non-controversial changes to various sections of the Education Code administered by CalSTRS to improve and continue effective administration of the system. This bill has received bipartisan support with no opposition. I respectfully request your aye vote.
Debate or discussion? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none. Members, is there any objection to substituting our unanimous roll call on this item? Any objection to substituting the unanimous roll call? Ayes 34, noes 0. The Assembly amendments are concurred in. File item 70. File item 70. Senator Vargas, Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 441 by Senator Vargas, an act relating to elections.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. SB 441 would repeal existing law that permits county central committees to distribute party contribution envelopes or letters to the county elections official to registered voters. The Assembly amendments did not make any substantive changes to the bill. This bill has received bipartisan support. It has no known opposition. I would respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Alquist, Anderson, Berryhill, Blakesley, aye. Calderon, Canella, aye. Corbett, aye. Correa, De Leon, aye. DeSaulnier, Dutton, Emerson, Evans, aye. Fuller, aye. Gaines, aye. Hancock, aye. Harmon, aye. Hernandez, aye. Huff, aye. Kehoe, aye. LaMalfa, Leno, aye. Ted Lieu, aye. Carol Lieu, aye. Lowenthal, aye. Negrete McLeod, aye. Padilla, aye. Pavley, aye. Price, aye. Rubio, aye. Runner, aye. Semidian, aye. Steinberg, aye. Strickland, no. Vargas, aye. Walters, Wolk, aye. Wright, Wyland, Wright, aye. Wyland, aye. Yee, Yee, aye. Berryhill, aye. Emerson, aye. Correa, aye.
Ayes 32, noes 1. The Assembly amendments are concurred in. File item 71. Senator Corbett, Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 534 by Senator Corbett, an act relating to victims of sexual assault.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Senate Bill 534 assures that a victim of a sexual assault crime shall not be billed directly or indirectly for forensic medical examinations, regardless of their decision to cooperate with law enforcement. Amendments taken in the Assembly strengthen the measure and identify a funding source to pay for the forensic medical examinations. Senate Bill 534 has strong bipartisan support, has received no votes, and has no opposition. I ask for your aye vote on concurrence.
Debate or discussion? Debate or discussion? Members, is there any objection to substituting our unanimous roll call on this item? Any objection? Seeing and hearing none. It is ayes 35, noes 0, including and adding Senator Calderon. Ayes 35, noes 0. The Assembly amendments are concurred in. File item 72. Senator Kehoe, do you wish to take up this item? Thank you, ma'am. Secretary will read.
Senate Bill 599 by Senator Kehoe, an act relating to life insurance.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a consumer protection measure. Assembly amendments ensure contingent enactment of 599 and SB 713 because the two measures are intertwined. Amendments also ensure that SB 599 does not preempt a policyholder's wishes of benefit settlement for the beneficiary. Has support of the industry and consumer groups. I ask for your aye vote.
Debate or discussion? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Alquist, Anderson, Berryhill, Blakesley, aye. Calderon, aye. Canella, aye. Corbett, aye. Correa, aye. De Leon, DeSaulnier, Dutton, aye. Emerson, Evans, aye. Fuller, I. Gaines, I. Hancock, Harmon, Hancock, I. Harmon, I. Hernandez, I. Huff, I. Kehoe, I. LaMalfa, Leno, I. Ted Lieu, I. Carol Lieu, I. Lowenthal, I. Negrete McLeod, I. Padilla, I. Pavley, I. Price, I. Rubio, I. Runner, I. Semidian, I. Steinberg, I. Strickland, I. Vargas, I. Walters, Wolk, I. Wright, I. Wyland, I. Yee. Yee, I.
Call the absent members.
Emerson, I. Alquist, Anderson, Berryhill, I. De Leon, I. Malfa, I. DeSaulnier, Walters.
Call the absent members.
Alquist, Anderson, DeSaulnier, Walters.
Ayes 36, noes 0. The Assembly amendments are concurred in. Members, before we take up our next item, will you please join me in welcoming a very special guest at the rear of the chambers, former Assembly member and now Council member Paul Krikorian. Mr. Krikorian, welcome to the Senate chambers. Nice to see you here. File item 73. Senator Yee, are you prepared to take this item up? You are. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 602 by Senator Yee, enacting to privacy.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Senators, this bill is coming back from the Assembly on concurrence. The amendments made in the Assembly were just simply issues that were raised by the California Association of College Stores, the California District Attorney Association, Police Chief, TechNet, Tech America, and the California Retailers Association. The amendments now has really brought a bipartisan support for this particular bill. The tech industry, including Google and TechNet. Basically, what this bill will do is to extend readers' privacy not only to items that are bought in corner bookstores, but also through the internet. And with that, urge an aye vote.
Debate or discussion? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Alquist, Anderson, Berryhill, I. Blakesley, Calderon, I. Canella, Corbett, I. Correa, De Leon, I. DeSaulnier, I. Dutton, I. Emerson, I. Evans, I. Fuller, I. Gaines, I. Hancock, I. Harmon, I. Hernandez, I. Huff, I. Kehoe, I. LaMalfa, I. Leno, I. Ted Lieu, I. Carol Lieu, I. Lowenthal, I. Negrete McLeod, I. Padilla, I. Pavley, I. Price, I. Rubio, I. Runner, I. Semidian, I. Steinberg, I. Strickland, I. Vargas, I. Walters, I. Wolk, I. Wright, I. Wyland, I. Yee. Yee, I. Anderson, I. Canella, I.
Please call the absent members.
Alquist, Blakesley, I. Correa, I.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The bill is passed. Forgive me, members. Assembly amendments are concurred in. File item 74, Senator Steinberg. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 611 by Senator Steinberg, enacting to instructional
Senator
strategies.
Steinberg, one moment, please. Members, once again, if we could ask that conversations be taken off the floor, if staff members could exit the chambers or take their conversations off the floor, please. Can we ask the Sergeant at Arms at the rear of the chambers to please ask the folks who are speaking at the rear of the chambers to take their conversations outside? Senator Steinberg, please proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. This may be the first time on the floor that any of you will hear the term UC Curriculum Integration Institute. But it's an important term, and it's an important entity out of the University of California that is charged with helping develop high school courses that meet both the A to G requirement for rigor, but are also career-oriented. This is an issue I've talked a lot about. This bill would expand the Institute in a way that I hope will lead to a much greater connection between public education, specifically high school education, and our economy. I urge an aye vote.
Debate or discussion? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Secretary, call the roll.
Alquist, Anderson, Berryhill, Blakeslee, Calderon, aye. Canella, no. Corbett, aye. Correa, aye. De Leon, aye. DeSaulnier, aye. Dutton, Emerson, Evans, aye. Fuller, no. Gaines, aye. Hancock, aye. Harmon, no. Hernandez, aye. Huff, no. Kehoe, aye. LaMalfa, no. Leno, aye. Ted Lieu, aye. Carol Lieu, aye. Lowenthal, aye. Negrete McLeod, aye. Padilla, Pavley, aye. Price, aye. Rubio, aye. Runner, Smidian,
Aye.
aye. Steinberg, aye. Strickland, no. Vargas, aye. Walters, no. Wolk, aye. Wright, aye. Wyland, aye. Yee, aye. Berryhill, no. Anderson, no.
Mr. Secretary, please call the absent members.
Runner, no. Alquist, Blakeslee, aye. Dutton, Emerson, aye. Padilla, aye.
Call the absent members.
Alquist, Dutton,
Ayes 28.
Dutton, aye.
Ayes 29, noes 10. The Assembly amendments are concurred in. File item 75, Senator Corbett. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 622 by Senator Corbett, enacting to sex offenders.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 622 allows the Department of Justice to resume its practice of reviewing details of all out-of-state convictions in order to determine whether sex offenders are required to register in California. This process protects both the registrants and the public. Amendments taken in the Assembly clarifies that the Department of Justice obtains the records of all out-of-state federal and military offenders when they register in California and compares their out-of-state offenses to California offenses. Senate Bill 622 is sponsored by our Attorney General, Kamala Harris, and has received strong bipartisan support. I ask for your aye vote on concurrence.
Is there debate or discussion, members? Debate or discussion? Members, any objection to substituting our unanimous roll call on this item? Any objection to substituting our unanimous roll call on this item? If not, ayes 39, noes 0. The Assembly amendments are concurred in. File item 76, Senator Corbett. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 684 by Senator Corbett, enacting to workers' compensation insurance.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 684 assures that arbitration clauses in workers' compensation insurance policies are straightforward and fair to all parties. Specifically, Senate Bill 684 provides that a workers' compensation insurer must disclose to an employer the choice of law and the choice of venue, along with a written quote for insurance coverage. Once the disclosure is made, a dispute resolution or arbitration agreement may be negotiated at any time prior to a dispute arising. Amendments taken in the Assembly removed all opposition to the bill, and I ask for your aye vote on concurrence.
Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, will the Secretary please call the roll?
Alquist, Anderson, no. Berryhill, no. Blakeslee, no. Calderon, aye. Canella, no. Corbett, aye. Correa, De Leon, I DeSaulnier. I Dutton. No Emerson. No Evans. I Fuller. No Gaines. No Hancock. I Harmon. No Hernandez. I Huff. No Kehoe. I LaMalfa. No Leno. I Ted Lieu. Carol Lieu. I Lowenthal. I Negrete McLeod. I Padilla. I Pavley. I Price. I Rubio. I Runner. No Semidian. I Steinberg. I Strickland. Vargas. I Walters. No Wolk. I Wright. I Weiland. I Weiland, I don't know. Yee. Yee, I. Strickland, no.
Call the absent members.
Alquist. Correa. I. Ted Lieu. I.
Ayes 24, noes 15. The Assembly amendments are concurred in. File item 77, Senator Negrete McLeod. Secretary will read.
Senate Bill 704 by Senator Negrete McLeod, an act relating to healing arts.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, SB 704 seeks to reconstruct the examination.
Members, please proceed.
Seeks to reconstruct the examination process for applicants seeking marriage and family therapist, clinical social worker, and professional clinical counselor licensure. This restructuring sets up a framework for the board to smoothly transition to a national testing system. The board is currently working with MFTs and LCSWs, national testing agencies, in order to ensure that their national examination will meet testing standards unique to the needs of California. Ultimately, accepting the national exams would benefit applicants by allowing greater reciprocity and portability of license across the states. The recent amendments taken in the Assembly were to address chaptering out issues. I respectfully ask your aye vote.
Debate or discussion? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, is there any objection to substituting our unanimous roll call on this item? Any objection? If not, ayes 39, noes 0. The Assembly amendments are concurred in. Senator Negrete McLeod, for what purpose do you
Yes,
rise?
under motions and resolutions, I would like to submit a letter to the Journal. I have gotten permission from both caucuses.
We have a letter to the Journal from Senator Negrete McLeod. We will confirm that we have concurrence on both sides. We do. Without objection, the letter will be entered into the Journal. Please present it to the desk. Senator Lowenthal, we're at file item 78. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 739 by Senator Lowenthal, an act relating to ports.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. SB 739 requires the ports of Long Beach, Los Angeles, and Oakland by July 1, 2012 to assess their infrastructure and air quality needs, including assessing the total cost for these projects and identifying potential sources of funding for them. Assembly amendments make technical changes and add Assemblymember Furitani as a co-author. There is no opposition. I respectfully ask for concurrence in Assembly amendments.
Debate or discussion? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Alquist. Anderson. No. Berryhill. Blakesley. No. Calderon. I. Canella. I. Corbett. I. Correa. I. De Leon. I. DeSaulnier. I. Dutton. Emerson. Evans. I. Dutton, no. Fuller. No. Gaines. I. Hancock. I. Harmon. I. Hernandez. I. Huff. I. Kehoe. I. LaMalfa. Leno. I. Ted Lieu. I. Carol Lieu. I. Lowenthal. I. Negrete McLeod. I. Padilla. Pavley. I. Price. I. Rubio. I. Runner. Semidian.
Aye.
I. Steinberg. I. Strickland. Vargas. I. Walters. No, Wolk. I, Wright. I, Wyland. I, Yee. Yee, aye.
Call the absent members.
Alquist, Berryhill. I, Emerson. I, LaMalfa. No. Padilla. I, Runner. I, Strickland, no.
Ayes 32, noes 7. The Assembly amendments are concurred in. File item 79, Senator Negrete McLeod. Secretary will read.
Senate Bill 824 by Senator Negrete McLeod and according to petitions.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. AB 824, under the current law, there is no grace period that allows a registered dispensing optician to remain open if they sell or transfer their ownership until the proper forms are received and approved by the medical board. AB 824 will provide a process for a change of ownership that allows the optician to remain open while the documents are being properly processed. The recent Assembly amendments clarify that both the selling and purchasing registered dispensing optician must submit the applicable forms within 10 days of the sale. With the recent amendments, this bill is supported by the medical board. It has not received any no votes, and I ask for your aye vote.
Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none. Any objection to the unanimous roll call? Any objection? Seeing and hearing no objection, it is ayes 39, noes 0. Assembly amendments are concurred in. File item 80, Senator Padilla. Secretary will read.
Senate Bill 859 by Senator Padilla and according to vehicles.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, SB 859 is back from the Assembly for a concurrence vote. Assembly amendments made technical and clarifying changes and added a co-author, so nothing substantive. In essence, this bill would permit electric utilities having access to DMV records to determine only the car make and the address of electric vehicle owners of record to allow utilities to track the effect of charging electric vehicles on the electric distribution grid. Both the privacy protection clauses were taken in Senate Judiciary Committee, confirmed on the Assembly side. Ask your aye vote.
Debate or discussion? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Alquist, Anderson. I, Berryhill. I, Blakesley. Calderon. I, Canella. I, Corbett. Correa. De Leon. I, DeSaulnier. I, Dutton. I, Emerson. I, Evans. I, Fuller. No, Gaines. No, Hancock. I, Herman. I, Hernandez. I, Huff. Kehoe. I, LaMalfa. I, Leno. I, Ted Lieu. I, Carol Lieu. I, Lowenthal. I, Negrete McLeod. Padilla. I, Pavley. Pavley, aye. Price. I, Rubio. I, Runner. I, Smidian.
Aye.
I, Steinberg. I, Strickland. Vargas. I, Walters. I, Wolk. I, Wright. I, Wyland. I, Yee. Yee, aye. Strickland, aye.
Call the absent members.
Alquist. Blakesley. I, Corbett. Correa. I, Huff. Negrete McLeod.
Ayes 34, noes 2. The Assembly amendments are concurred in. File item 81, Senator Price. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 943 by the Committee on Business Professions and Economic Development and according to Healing Arts.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, Senate Bill 943 is the Senate Committee on Business Professions and Economic Development's Health Omnibus Bill. The bill makes several minor, non-substantive, and technical changes to the Business and Professions Code that are consensus items to better enable boards to carry out their regulatory duties. There's no known opposition. The bill has passed policy and fiscal committees in both houses, as well as this floor as a whole on consent. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, any objection to substituting our unanimous roll call? Is there any objection? If not, ayes 39, noes 0. The Assembly amendments are concurred in. Members, if I could have your attention for one moment, please. We have completed the unfinished business. This is file items 38 through 81. File items 38 through 81. Before we go to Assembly third reading, I will ask if there are any members who had items that were passed over earlier in the day on unfinished business, file items 38 through 81, that they wish to take up at this time. This is the last opportunity to take up unfinished business, file items 38 to 81, today. Senator Correa, for what purpose do you rise, sir?
I'd like to take up file item number 54, Senate Bill 488.
File item 54, members. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 488 by Senator Correa, an accolade to the Political Reform Act of 1974.
Senators, this bill would require slate mail organizations to obtain prior consent before using a logo or other emblem that is substantially similar to one used by a governmental agency or other organization that represents a public safety group. The bill is also requires that slate mailers purporting to represent one of these groups disclose the total number of members in their organization. The Assembly amendments were technical in nature. I ask for an aye vote on concurrence.
Members, debate or discussion? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Alquist, Anderson, no. Berryhill, Blakesley, no. Calderon, Cannella, Corbett, aye. Correa, aye. De Leon, aye. DeSaulnier, aye. Dutton, Emerson, Evans, aye. Fuller, Gaines, aye. Hancock, aye. Harmon, aye. Hernandez, aye. Huff, Kehoe, Lamoffa, no. Leno, aye. Ted Lieu, aye. Carol Lieu, aye. Lowenthal, Negrete McLeod, Padilla, aye. Pavley, aye. Price, aye. Rubio, aye. Runner, no. Semidian,
aye.
Aye. Steinberg, aye. Strickland, Vargas, aye. Walters, no. Wolk, aye. Wright, no. Wyland, Yee, aye. Strickland, no.
Mr. Secretary, this is a two-thirds vote requirement. Please call the roll.
Alquist, Berryhill, Calderon, Cannella, Dutton, no. Emerson, Fuller, Huff, Kehoe, Lowenthal, Negrete McLeod, aye. Wyland.
Call the absent members.
Alquist, Berryhill, Calderon, Cannella, aye. Emerson, Fuller, Huff, Kehoe, Lowenthal, aye. Wyland.
Call the absent members.
Alquist, Berryhill, Calderon, Emerson, Fuller, Huff, Kehoe, Wyland.
Mr. Secretary, please call the absent members.
Alquist, Berryhill, Calderon, Emerson, Fuller, aye. Huff, Kehoe, Wyland.
Call the absent members.
Alquist, Berryhill, Calderon, no. Emerson, Huff, Kehoe, Wyland.
Members, ayes 25, noes 9. Senator Correa moves a call. Once again, this is a two-thirds item. Members, are there other items on unfinished business, items 38 through 81, that members wish to take up? Senator Pavley, what item, please?
I would just like to request whether it's all right to put a letter into the file at this time.
Senator Pavley, I believe your request is to enter a letter into the Journal.
Into the Journal.
It has been approved by both sides?
Yes, it has.
Let me confirm that briefly. Approved on both sides. This is a letter from Senator Pavley. The request is to enter the letter into the Journal. Has it been approved by both sides? It has, without objection. It will be entered into the Journal. Thank you, Senator Pavley. Members, last call, please. We have been working on unfinished business, file items 38 to 81. If there are any other items that members wish to take up in unfinished business, this is the time. If not, we have completed our business for today on file items 38 to 81, unfinished business. We will move to Assembly third reading beginning at file item 87. Members, Assembly third reading beginning at file item 87. Our first item is file item 87, Senator DeSaulnier. Do you wish to take this item up? File item 88, Senator DeSaulnier. Do you wish to take this item up? No. File item 89, Senator DeSaulnier. Do you wish to take this item up? No. File item 90 is ineligible by virtue of amendments pending. File item 91, Senator Wright. Not at his desk. File item 92, Senator Wright. Oh. File item 91, Senator Wright. Do you wish to take that item up? You have two items, both by Assemblymember Norby.
Only one, Mr. President. File item 91, 1146 would. I'm sorry, clerk will read.
Thank you. The clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1146 by Assemblymember Norby, enacting to the Political Reform Act of 1974.
I'm doing a bill here. AB 1146, members, is a clarifying issue. Some of you may sit on commissions and boards where it's not clear what disclosure documents you file. 1146 says that you would file your documents with the Political Reform Act and you wouldn't have to file a second set of papers for the additional commission. It has caused some confusions for people who sit on more than one board. There are a number of, it's primarily a problem with local agencies because in many instances you're on the transportation board or a different board in addition to being on the city council or other board. I'm not aware of any direct opposition. Again, this is a clarifying amendment to a bill that was done by then Assembly member Mel Levine, not to be confused with Lloyd Levine. This was an old piece of legislation. There is no opposition that I'm aware of, and it clarifies the Levine Act as I am aware of it, and I'd ask for an aye vote.
Senator Leno.
Question for the author. Floor manager.
Please proceed.
Yes.
Thank you. My understanding was, and I can check the computer in a moment, that it raises the threshold for the amount of contribution that would need to be reported. Is that no longer the case?
Different bill. We're going to come back to that one. That's the one that raises it to $200 on the cash contribution. This is simply the bill that...
Senator Wright, one moment, please. I do believe that Senator Leno is correct. That this measure is, in fact, the measure that increases the threshold from
I have the wrong bill. The Levine bill is the one that I intended to take up, so I'm reading from the wrong packet. I apologize. I'll come back to that one because I don't intend to take up the $200 limit today.
All right. Tell you what, Senator Wright, why don't we give you a moment? We'll pass both file item 91 and 92. We'll come back after we've sorted out which is which. Okay. It is my understanding from conferring with the desk staff that file item 91 does deal with the issue that Senator Leno has raised. Members, moving forward to file item 93, Senator Evans, do you wish to take this item up? Senator Evans, do you wish to take up file item 93? Pass. File item 94, Senator Kehoe. To be amended. File item 95. Do we have a floor manager? No. File item 96, Senator Wolk. File item 96, Senator Wolk. Pass. File item 97, Senator Rubio. Not at his desk. File item 98, Senator De Leon. Not at his desk. File item 99, do we have a floor manager? Senator De Leon? Thank you. File item 99, no floor manager. File item 100, Senator Kehoe. Pass. File item 101, no floor manager. File item 102, Senator Hancock. Not at her desk. File item 103, no floor manager. File item 104, this is the Committee on the Judiciary. Senator Evans, do you wish to take up this item? Senator Evans. File item 104 is a Committee on Judiciary measure. Pass. File item 105. Senator Leno, would you like to take up this item? Pass. File item 106. Pass temporarily. Thank you. File item 107. Senator Yee. Thank you, Senator Yee. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 1055 by Assembly Member Hill, enacting to the Public Utilities Commission.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Senators, this bill is rather straightforward. It just simply prohibits commissioners or employees of the CPUC from soliciting contribution from any person or entity that the CPUC regulates. This is a good government transparency bill. With that, urge an aye vote.
Debate or discussion? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, members, any objection to substituting our unanimous roll call on this item? If there is, please call the roll.
Alquist, Anderson, I. Berryhill, I. Blakesley, I. Calderon, I. Canella, I. Corbett, I. Correa, De Leon, I. DeSaulnier, I. Dutton, Emerson, I. Evans, Dutton, I. Evans, I. Fuller, I. Gaines, I. Hancock, I. Harmon, I. Hernandez, I. Huff, I. Kehoe, I. LaMalfa, I. Leno, I. Ted Lieu, I. Carol Lieu, Lowenthal, I. Negrete McLeod, I. Padilla, Pavley, I. Price, I. Rubio, I. Runner, I. Semidian, I. Steinberg, Strickland, Vargas, I. Walters, I. Wolk, I. Wright, I. Wyland, I. Yee. Yee, aye. Alquist, Correa, I. Carol Lieu, Padilla, Steinberg, Strickland.
Ayes 35, noes 0. The bill is passed. Members, we go now to Senator Kehoe. For what purpose do you rise?
To lift the call, Senator Semidian, on file item 42.
Members, we will lift the call on file item 42. Secretary, please call the absent members.
Alquist, Anderson, Berryhill, Blakesley, Calderon, I. Canella, DeSaulnier, I. Dutton, Emerson, Fuller, Harmon, LaMalfa, Negrete McLeod, I. Runner, Strickland, Walters. Walters, no. Anderson, no.
Members, this is an urgency item and requires 27 votes. The Secretary will call the absent members.
Alquist, Berryhill, Blakesley, Canella, Dutton, Emerson, Fuller, Harmon, LaMalfa, no. Runner, Strickland.
Ayes 22, noes 8. Senator Kehoe replaces the call. Members, at this time, we will return to file item 91. Could I have your attention, please? File item 91 was inadvertently addressed. In fact, Senator Wright wishes to pass on file item 91 and take up file item 92. Senator Wright, it is my understanding that your previous remarks were in fact directed at file item 92. Is that correct, sir?
That would be correct.
Then we will ask the Secretary to please read, and we will take up file item 92 at this time.
Assembly Bill 1241 by Assemblymember Norby, enacting to the Political Reform Act of 1974.
Oh, let me again, file item 92, 1241 would do two things. One of the things that it would do is say that if you're a local elected official who also serves on a commission such as the Transportation Commission, that your reporting requirements would remain with your city council provision. The other thing that it does is that many of the commissions that you might serve on have different contribution rules. This would say that your council or your locally elected position, those would be the rules that you would follow, so you would be bound by the Political Reform Act as opposed to being bound by two different sets of laws. So it says, in effect, for example, in Los Angeles, if you're on the Transportation Commission, there's a different set of contribution requirements from being on the Transportation Commission versus the City Council. That has often caused confusions and gotten people into hot water. This would say that you'd operate under a single set of rules. That's the essence of AB 1241, not to be confused with the other bill. I apologize for the confusion. Thank you, Senator Leno, for the correction between file item 91 and 92, both bills by Assemblyman Norby.
Further debate or discussion? Further debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Alquist, Anderson, I. Berryhill, I. Blakeslee, I. Calderon, I. Cannella, I. Corbett, no. Correa, no. De Leon, I. DeSaulnier, no. Dutton, Emerson, I. Evans, no. Fuller, I. Gaines, I. Hancock, I. Harmon, I. Hernandez, Huff, I. Kehoe, LaMalfa, I. Leno, no. Ted Lieu, no. Carol Lieu, no. Lowenthal, no. Negrete McLeod, Padilla, aye. Pavley, aye. Pavley, aye to no. Price, aye. Rubio, no. Runner, aye. Semidian, aye. Steinberg, Strickland, Vargas, no. Walters, no. Wolk, no. Wright, aye. Wyland, Yee, no. Walters, no to aye. Hancock, aye to no.
Members, one moment, please. Are there any members who wish to change their previously recorded votes? Senator Pavley. Pavley, aye to no. Any other members?
Pavley, we have as no.
Calderon, aye to no.
Calderon, aye to no.
Senator De Leon, aye to no. Ms. Hancock, aye to no. Senator Strickland. Senator Strickland,
aye.
Senator Wyland, aye. Members, we're going to call the absent members. Mr. Secretary, please call the absent members.
Alquist, Dutton, aye. Hernandez, Dutton, aye to no. Hernandez, Kehoe, Negrete McLeod, Steinberg, Blakeslee, aye to no.
Ayes 17, noes 18. Senator Wright moves the call, and I am asked to remind members that there are only two choices, aye or no. We will go back to the file. We are at file item 108. Let me confirm with the desk. File item 108. Senator Negrete McLeod. Senator Negrete McLeod not at her desk. File item 109 has amendments. File item 110 has amendments. File item 111 has amendments. File item 112, is there a floor manager? There are amendments. File item 113, no floor manager. File item 114, no floor manager. File item 115, no floor manager. File item 116, no floor manager. File item 117, no floor manager. File item 118 has amendments. File item 119, Senator Kehoe, do you wish to take this measure up? Passing, thank you. File item 120, Senator Walters, not at her desk. File item 121, Senator Kehoe, has amendments. File item 122, Senator De Leon. File item 122, Mr. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 1116 by Assemblymember Fong, enacting to emergency services.
Thank you, Mr. President, as well as members. The communication needs of California in limited English.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Again, colleagues, the communication needs of Californians in limited English proficiency communities simply are not being met during the major crises that we have in California. AB 1116 will require the California Emergency Management Agency to consider the safety needs of limited English-speaking communities during any disaster. This bill will save lives and minimize injuries as well as damages through the conducted, or I should say coordinated communication efforts of the responders and the victims. AB 1116 passed the Senate Governmental Organization as well as appropriation committees and received support from the California Academy of Family Physicians and the California Language Teachers Association. I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Is there debate or discussion on this item? If not, will the Secretary please call the roll?
Alquist, Anderson, no Berryhill, I Blakesley, I Calderon, Canella, I Corbett, I Correa, I De Leon, I DeSaulnier, I Dutton, no Emerson, I Evans, I Fuller, Gaines, no Hancock, Harmon, no Hernandez, I Huff, Kehoe, I Lamalfa, no Leno, I Tedlu, Carolu, I Lowenthal, Negrete McLeod, I Padilla, I Pavley, I Price, I Rubio, I Runner, no Semidian, I Steinberg, Strickland, Vargas, I Walters, Wolk, I Wright, I Weiland, Yee. Yee, aye.
Please.
Huff, aye.
Call the absent members.
Alquist, Calderon, I Fuller, Hancock, I Tedlu, I Lowenthal, I Steinberg, Strickland, Walters, no, Weiland.
Ayes 28, noes 7. The bill is passed. Members, we are at file item 123. Senator Pavley. File item 124 has amendments. File item 125 has amendments. File item 126 has no floor manager. File item 127, no floor manager. File item 128, no floor manager. File item 129, Senator De Leon, not at his desk. Thank you. Pass and retain. File item 130, Senator Wolk. Senator Wolk, do you wish to take up this item? Passed. File item 131. cannot be taken up until September the 4th. Members, file item 132. Senator Hernandez? Pass. File item 133. Senator De Leon? Not pass and retain. File item 134. Senator Calderon, not at his desk. File item 135 has amendments. File item 136. Senator Calderon, not at his desk. File item 137, Senator Ted Lieu, not at his desk. File item 138, Senator Hancock. File item 139, no floor manager. File item 140, Senator Carol Lieu, Secretary Will Reed.
Assembly Bill 202 by Assemblymember Brownlee, enacting to local educational agencies.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, the intent of AB 202 is to reform and streamline the mandate process in order to reduce state and local workload, mandate reimbursement processing time, and administrative costs. The bill is consistent with findings from the state audit of the mandate reimbursement processes and with the discussion that took place in a staff-level mandates working group called for in last year's Budget Act. Specifically, the bill augments information that is provided to the legislature concerning pending and existing mandates. It reduces the administrative burden on local educational agencies, and it streamlines a process for getting simpler, formula-driven, reasonable reimbursable methodologies on educational mandates. The cost of implementing this bill will be minor, especially in relation to the potential for reduced administrative costs and the benefits of improved information for those of us involved in policy making. We continue to see backlogs, delays, and high administrative costs in processing mandates. The bill is a step in the right direction, and I ask for your support on this measure.
Debate or discussion, members? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none. Secretary, call the roll.
Alquist. Anderson. No. Berryhill. No. Blakesley. Aye. Calderon. Aye. Canella. No. Corbett. Aye. Correa. Aye. De Leon. Aye. DeSaulnier. Aye. Dutton. No. Emerson. No. Evans. Fuller. No. Gaines. No. Hancock. Harmon. No. Hernandez. Aye. Huff. Kehoe. Aye. LaMalfa. Leno. Aye. Ted Lieu. Aye. Carol Lieu. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Price. Aye. Rubio. Runner. No. Semidian.
Aye.
Aye. Steinberg. Aye. Strickland. No. Vargas. Aye. Walters. No. Wolk. Aye. Wright. Aye. Wyland. Yee.
Call the absent members.
Yee. Aye. Alquist. Evans. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Huff. LaMalfa. No. Rubio. Aye. Wyland. Wyland, no. Blakesley, aye to no. Yeah, Wyland we have as no.
Ayes 24, noes 14. The bill is passed. File item 141 has amendments. File item 142 has no floor manager. File item 143, no floor manager. File item 144, Senator Negrete McLeod, pass. File item 145, Senator Huff. Senator Huff will pass. File item 146, Senator Wyland. Senator Wyland? Members, we are at file item 146. Senator Wyland, do you wish to take up this item?
Pass.
Pass. File item 147. Senator Padilla, do I understand that even though you are not listed as the floor manager, Senator Padilla?
Yes.
That you do wish to take this item up? And you are the floor manager for Assemblymember Pan. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. The request was made earlier today. It's not reflected in the file, but I'm happy to manage this item.
Thank you so much. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 678 by Assemblymember Pan, enacting to Medi-Cal and declaring the urge thereof to take effect immediately.
One moment, please, members. Please proceed, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President, members, and desk staff. I know it's not reflected in the today's file, but happy to manage this on behalf of Assemblymember Pan. AB 678 allows for a local government supplemental Medi-Cal reimbursement for emergency medical transport services that are delivered to Medi-Cal patients. It's part of a comprehensive state strategy to, frankly, leverage additional federal dollars. This could mean the difference of tens of millions of dollars in new federal funds coming to state and local coffers under a fund created by the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act. I ask for your aye vote.
Debate or discussion on this item, members? Seeing and hearing none, will the Secretary please call the roll?
Alquist, Anderson, I. Berryhill, I. Blakesley, I. Calderon, I. Canella, I. Corbett, I. Correa, De Leon, I. DeSaulnier, I. Dutton, Emerson, I. Evans, I. Fuller, I. Gaines, I. Hancock, I. Harmon, I. Hernandez, I. Huff, I. Kehoe, I. LaMalfa, I. Leno, I. Ted Lieu, I. Carol Lieu, I. Lowenthal, I. Negrete McLeod, Padilla, I. Pavley, I. Price, I. Rubio, I. Runner, I. Semidian, I. Steinberg, Strickland, I. Vargas, I. Walters, I. Wolk, I. Wright, I. Wyland, I. Yee. Yee, aye. Dutton, aye.
Please call the absent members.
Alquist, Correa, I. Negrete McLeod, Steinberg.
Call the absent members.
Alquist, Negrete McLeod, aye. Steinberg.
Ayes 38, noes 0. The bill is passed. File item 148, Senator DeSaulnier. Forgive me, members. On the previous item, it is ayes 38, noes 0 on the urgency. Ayes 38, noes 0 on the bill. The bill is passed. File item 148, not at his desk. File item 149, Senator Ted Lieu. Secretary will read.
Assembly Bill 740 by Assemblymember Blumenfield, enacting to personal services contracts.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator, this bill implements key recommendations of the state auditor. It will require a State Department or agency to terminate any contract found unjustified and disapproved by the State Personnel Board. AB 740 also requires the State Department or agency to give timely notices.
One moment, Senator. Please proceed.
AB 740 also requires the State Department or agency to give timely notices of the cancellation to the contractor, the SPB, and the Employee Association that was successful in its challenge of the contract. Nothing in this bill limits the ability of State Departments to contract for personal services. Respectfully request an aye vote.
Debate or discussion? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Alquist, Anderson, Berryhill, no. Blakesley, Calderon, I. Canella, no. Corbett, I. Correa, De Leon, I. DeSaulnier, I. Dutton, no. Emerson, no. Evans, I. Fuller, no. Gaines, no. Hancock, I. Harmon, Hernandez, I. Huff, no. Kehoe, I. LaMalfa, no. Leno, I. Ted Lieu, I. Carol Lieu, I. Lowenthal, I. Negrete McLeod, I. Padilla, I. Pavley, I. Price, I. Rubio, Runner, no. Semidian, I. Steinberg, Strickland, I. Vargas, I, Walters. No, Wolk. I, Wright. I, Wyland. No, Yee. Yee, aye. Strickland. Aye to no.
Mr. Secretary, please call the absent members.
Alquist. Anderson. No. Blakesley. No. Correa. Aye. Harmon. Rubio. Aye. Steinberg. Steinberg, aye.
Ayes 24, noes 14. The bill is passed. File item 150, there is no floor manager. File item 51, no floor manager. File item 152, no floor manager. File item 153. Senator Correa, would you like to take this item up? Secretary will read.
Assembly Bill 989 by Assemblymember Mitchell, enacting to mental health.
Senators, foster youth face a difficult and uphill battle. They are removed from their families, often due to physical or sexual abuse or neglect, and then plunged into a system where they face a very uncertain future. This bill will require counties to consider the mental health needs of transition-age foster youth when planning their use of Mental Health Services Act money or Prop 63 money. I ask for an aye vote.
Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, will the Secretary please call the roll?
Alquist. Anderson. Aye. Berryhill. Aye. Blakesley. Calderon. Aye. Canella. Aye. Corbett. Aye. Correa. Aye. De Leon. Aye. DeSaulnier. Aye. Dutton. Aye. Emerson. Aye. Evans. Aye. Fuller. Aye. Gaines. Hancock. Harmon. Hernandez. Aye. Huff. Kehoe. LaMalfa. Leno. Aye. Ted Lieu. Carol Lieu. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Price. Rubio. Runner. Rubio, aye. Runner. Aye. Samidian.
Aye.
Aye. Steinberg. Aye. Strickland. Aye. Vargas. Aye. Walters. Aye. Wolk. Aye. Wright. Aye. Wyland. Aye. Yee. Yee, aye. Kehoe, aye.
Call the absent members.
Alquist. Blakesley. Aye. Gaines. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Harmon. Huff. LaMalfa. Aye. Ted Lieu. Aye. Price. Aye.
Ayes 37, noes 0. The bill is passed. Senator Kehoe, for what purpose do you rise, Senator?
Thank you, Mr. President. To request to lift the call on file item 42.
Members, we are lifting the call on file item 42. The Secretary will call the absent members.
Alquist. Berryhill. Blakesley. Canella. Dutton. Emerson. Fuller. Harmon. Runner. Strickland.
Ayes 22.
Replace the
noes
call,
8.
Mr. President.
Senator Kehoe replaces the call.
Thank you.
Members, we are back on file at file item 154. Senator DeSaulnier, do you wish to take this item up? Pass. File item 155. Senator DeSaulnier? Good. Pass. File item 156. There is no floor manager. File item 157. Senator Carol Lieu. Pass. File item 158. Senator Canella. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 1221 by Assemblymember Alejo, enacting to water and making an appropriation therefore.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today to present AB 1221, which will help ensure Californians have greater access to viable drinking and wastewater services. Currently, only public agencies are eligible to apply for funding to address sewer and water contamination issues through the state's cleanup and abatement account. However, many of these communities that need these funds most can't access them. Furthermore, eligible public agencies sometimes fail to take action to clean up contaminated water. AB 1221 extends eligibility for these funds to disadvantaged communities and California-recognized tribes so that they can help provide their residents with safe, clean water. This bill has received strong bipartisan support. I respectfully urge your aye vote.
Debate or discussion? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, will the Secretary please call the roll?
Alquist, Anderson, I. Berryhill, I. Blakesley, Calderon, I. Canella, I. Corbett, I. Correa, I. De Leon, I. DeSaulnier, I. Dutton, I. Emerson, I. Evans, I. Fuller, I. Gaines, I. Hancock, I. Herman, Hernandez, I. Huff, I. Kehoe, LaMalfa, I. Leno, I. Ted Lieu, I. Carol Lieu, I. Lowenthal, I. Negrete McLeod, I. Padilla, I. Pavley, I. Price, I. Rubio, I. Runner, I. Semidian, I. Steinberg, Strickland, I. Vargas, I. Walters, I. Wolk, Wright, I. Wyland, I. Yee. Yee, I. Herman, I.
Call the absent members.
Alquist, Blakesley, Blakesley, I. Kehoe, I. Steinberg, I. Wolk.
Ayes 38, noes 0. The bill is passed. File item 159. Senator Lowenthal, do you wish to take up this item? The Secretary will read.
Assembly Bill 165 by Assembly Member Lauder, enacting to pupil fees.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. Members, when we were elected, we swore to uphold the Constitution. AB 165 asks you to do just that. The California Constitution was amended in 1879 to ensure that K through 12 students receive a free public school education. Yet, despite this long history of free public schools, today students are being charged fees for textbooks, instructional materials, and even in some instances, fees to simply enroll in core academic courses. AB 165 will provide clear guidance for all K-12 public schools. This bill uses existing accountability measures to provide students and families with the means to identify, to prevent, and to address unconstitutional fees. To be clear, AB 165 does not prevent voluntary donations and fundraising for extracurricular activities like band, cheerleading, sports, or arts and music programs. However, free public schools are and should remain at the heart of our democracy, promising opportunity for all, regardless of economic status. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Debate or discussion? Debate or discussion? Senator Ted Lieu.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, in appropriations, I voted no on this bill because there's concern that's a part of the language was unclear. The author has put in a letter to a journal. I want to thank him for that. And with that, I'm going to vote yes on the bill and recommend an aye vote.
Further debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Senator Lowenthal, you may close.
I urge an aye vote.
Secretary, call the roll.
Alquist, Anderson, no. Berryhill, no. Blakesley, no. Calderon, I. Canella, no. Corbett, I. Correa, I. De Leon, I. DeSaulnier, I. Dutton, no. Emerson, no. Evans, Fuller, no. Gaines, no. Hancock, I. Herman, no. Hernandez, I. Huff, no. Kehoe, I. LaMalfa, no. Leno, I. Ted Lieu, I. Carol Lieu, I. Lowenthal. I. Negrete McLeod. I. Padilla. I. Pavley. I. Price. I. Rubio. I. Runner. No. Semidian.
Aye.
I. Steinberg. I. Strickland. No. Vargas. I. Walters. No. Wolk. I. Wright. I. Wyland. No. Yee. Yee. Aye.
Call the absent members.
Alquist. Evans.
Ayes 23, noes 15. The bill is passed. Senator Correa, would you like to lift the call on your earlier item? That file item is one moment, please, members. File item 54. Senator Correa would like to lift the call. Before we lift the call, Senator Dutton, for what purpose do you rise?
Mr. President, I need a brief Republican caucus, about 5-10 minutes, no more.
Then, without objection, I believe, Senator Correa, you're willing to wait to lift the call. Brief Republican caucus in the Cox Lounge. Members, I'm advised by Mr. Dutton, we think this is just a 5-minute, 10-minute at the most caucus. Please stay on the red carpet. Senator Steinberg? All right. Members, we are in a brief recess during the Republican caucus.